Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel, and welcome back to a rainy and wet Midtown USA. This is episode number 6, and we are in our fourth game day of spring. And as you can see, it's sort of raining cats and dogs out there, and maybe a sheep and a cow, and anything else. So it is quite a wet morning, and kind of some of the work that we need to do this morning involves groundwork. We need to be able to plow a couple of more fields, and we need to begin to fertilize and plow those fields, and eventually, hopefully today, we put some more seeds in the ground. Just kind of bring you up to our little plight, our project here. We've got 16 and 17, which were planted in wheat on game day 1. We then, on game day 2, I believe, we planted wheat, and I put grass over here off camera. And then in game day 3, we planted canola on 10 and 11. So again, 73 degrees soil temperature, 73 degrees ambient air temperature. And yeah, it's nice weather if you're a duck. But we are going to kind of take a pause here, and hopefully at some point today, the rain will stop and the ground will dry up just a little bit. It's not been a heavy downpour, so I don't think we really have to worry about getting any of our equipment stuck on the fields. We haven't had that much rain, but I do want to wait until the rain is over before we get out there. Had a couple of lightning bolts just a few minutes ago, and so don't want to get anyone out there hurt. So we'll be right back with you, and we'll resume this episode here on Midtown USA. Stay tuned. All right, well, hello again, and just like that, the rain went away as quickly as it came in, and it is now just before 10 a.m., and the rain has stopped, the sun has come out, and I've been wondering where that pallet of concrete blocks went to. And I'm glad I came back here. I guess one of the boys put it there after a small building project. So we are going to do a couple of things. Sort of again where we are in the stage of things is we're very much in ground prep and seeding, because obviously those are things that need to be done, and they need to be done. They need to be done now, while it is spring, and but we also, I think I shared with you in yesterday's episode, and I need to look around and see if I can find those pallet forks. Find out where one of the boys left those. Maybe in this building over here. I think I shared with you yesterday. Yeah, here are our pallet forks right there. So I'm not sure. Let's see. I'm not sure if our telehandler will connect to those. We will certainly give it a try. I believe somewhere else on this map we've got a tractor that's got a front end loader on it if our telehandler will not attach to that. So let's just see what happens here as we try. I can't remember if this is going to work or not, so just bear with me as I more than likely will either figure it out, or we'll figure out that, well, it doesn't work. So we'll pull our telehandler out here. It's great to have nice dry barns. That's sort of a joke, obviously a Giants joke, because as awesome as this game is, it still rains inside the barns and such as that. So of course I don't expect those kind of things will get fixed with just a patch. I'm pretty sure we're talking about an adjustment to the game itself. Yeah, that works. All right. So what we need to do, and again, I think I shared this with you yesterday, is that our sheep wool production only has room for 1 pallet of wool. After that fills up, basically your wool production, your wool collection is going to basically cease to occur. At least I believe. I don't think it will queue, and basically if you remove the pallet, then you'll automatically get some more wool there. So we're at about 92% on our wool pallet over here, and I don't want to lose any wool, so we're basically going to scoop it up. We're going to get this wool out of here and go and take it and get rid of coarse play here. See if we can get this out of here. It's a bit on the edge of the forks there. I suppose the Bobcat would actually be, maybe we can slide it down just a little bit. Suppose a wheel loader, not a wheel loader, but a Bobcat or the what's that called? The skid steer would probably be the better option for that, just because that gate is a bit narrow getting into that area there. That's just where the guys will place the bundles when they shear the sheep. We don't have much sheep shearing left for this year, so we might get another bundle of wool out of this. We'll see. Hopefully we will. Would be nice. Wool is a good commodity. It's a good earner for us here on the farm, and hopefully we'll get some more out of it. So what we'll do is, for right now, we will park our wool over here into our hay barn, and we'll park it over here where most likely it'll be, well, we'll think it's out of the way, but it'll more than likely be in the way, and we'll just park it off here, right there. All right, we'll remove it off the forks at another time. So again, what we need to do is we need to do a bit of fertilization and some plowing, and that's what this episode is going to be about. So we're going to jump in our New Holland here, that's got our big Brettel fertilize spreader on the back of it, and we're at 62%, and I think that's going to be just fine. So we will go ahead and head on over to the field. We'll just come up here and do a U-turn in the yard, because we're basically going up towards the north portion of the map this morning to do this job. Bring up the large map there. I think we'll start with field number 7. Looks to be a nice square field. Hope everyone is having a wonderful day as I make this turn quite carefully, because again, with the more realistic mod, your vehicles do become, not only are they power challenged, the power of the tractor is better matched with the weight and the whole dynamics and everything of whatever the tractor happens to be pulling or operating or whatever at that particular point in time. But also your whole center of gravity becomes more realistic, maybe even a little more than realistic. And so an apparatus like this will actually flip if we're not careful. And we had a hired worker, just one of the in-game FS17 hired workers, were coming down, and they were spreading fertilizer here on field number 10 just beside us. And I'm guessing that the speed of the incline as we're coming down here, and then when he went to make his turn, basically he flipped the whole rig. And so now there's an interesting thing, and I've actually seen this a couple of times, and I figured it's my own fault. But here's a stop sign that has fallen down that cannot get up. So ccs101, I'm not sure if you're going to be watching this episode, but if you are, that stop sign tends to be there regardless of whether how much you've been playing the game. So at first I thought it was something that either AI knocked down, or maybe I knocked it down, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So it seems to be something that's kind of gotten stuck out there, and it doesn't have a home. So you might want to check that, and that's just at that corner there of field number 7 and 10. All right, so we're going to back up here just a little ways, and we're going to start spreading our chemical-based granular fertilizer here on this field. This is kind of the process in which we have been following for this map, is to put down a helping of chemical fertilizer, granular fertilizer on the field, and then we plow those in because we haven't plowed these fields for a couple of years, and we want to have good crop yields this particular year as much as possible. So that is why we are choosing to plow this year. And so we're putting down a helping of fertilizer, we're plowing that in, and then we're coming in behind that, and we are seeding and fertilizing once again with whatever crop type that we choose to put in here. And so you guys can see some of the businesses here on the north end of the map. I'll shut off my fertilizer spreader there. This is where farmland is located. I believe there's another farmland up on the other side of the map as well. Plus the local high school team has their baseball and softball complex field there over there. It's a very small school. We're fortunate to have a school here locally for our community that obviously supports our community, and it's good to have, like I said, a local school where our kids can learn, and they've got a lot of great programs, including a lot of great agricultural programs, and of course the school does have a Future Farmers of America agriculture program, and if you're familiar with USA schools, especially most of the schools down in the southern region or even in the Midwest, they will have FFA or Future Farmer of America programs, and those do still exist. I was kind of surprised to learn that those programs still exist in schools, and that's a great thing. And of course we've got an active one here on our school here in Midtown, USA, and of course we help out with the students. They come from time to time and do some help, do some job programs and stuff on the farm, help us shear sheep and help us do other things with the fields, and of course we've set them up a sort of a test field that's a portion of our land that they can grow some crops and do some things. And occasionally, while insurance liabilities and everything may not always allow them to operate our equipment, we will at least go in and assist them with plowing and fertilization and planting and such as that, so that they can learn more about the skills that hopefully they can leverage as they continue their journeys through life. And of course we've got a Dollar General store directly right over there by the baseball field. That's a great place to get certain items. It's probably not as much choice as, say, a Walmart or something like that, but nonetheless it's great to have it here in the community, because otherwise we're forced to drive in several dozen miles to the next closest town, or next closest town of any size, I should say, and we've got a local doctor that kind of lives in the town area. The town area is right over there by the water tower, and perhaps I'll take you over there at some point in time and kind of give you a show around that area. And yeah, so it's just a hustling and bustling little community, and I need to get a cup of coffee here. Hang on just a moment. And yes, the coffee is extraordinary this morning. And we'll go ahead and make our turn very carefully again. I do have somewhat mixed emotions with regards to the more realistic mod. As I lean back and grab my iced tea now, it's time to switch from coffee to iced tea. I do have mixed feelings, mixed emotions regarding the more realistic mod and the more realistic concept to the game. I think I may have shared these thoughts with you back in the Lawfolds days when I was trying things like the Gearbox mod and more realistic and all those things together. And of course, I haven't put the Gearbox mod into this game. I'm kind of sticking with. I'm not saying that all of my mods must come from the Giants Mod Hub, but That's where I would say the majority of my mods are coming from, at least nowadays, is through the Giants Mod Hub. Because for one, it's convenient it's real convenient for you all. If there's a mod that you see that you enjoy, it's quite convenient for you to grab that. And of course, some of the mods are now both console and PC compatible, like the Seasons mod. Yay! Glad that finally made its way to console, and I'm surprised about that. But back to subject, the more realistic mod and what it does for the games, both the physical characteristics, mechanical characteristics of the tractors and equipment and such, as well as the sort of the general dynamics of things such as physics and all that kind of stuff. I'm often concerned with these types of mods, and I will call this one out specifically as whether or not it is overcompensating for basically the lack of the functionality existing in the game itself, or the ability for the function to exist in the game. So in other words, I understand that there are some people. I guess there's two types of people, at least two, and two that are somewhat important to the conversation at hand. The first type of people are the people like myself and my friends that are like me, who want some realism. They want the ability to have an as real as it gets, to sort of copy Microsoft's famous flight sim phrase, as real as it gets, when they used to describe Flight Simulator, an as real as it gets approach to agricultural based simulation, so farm sim as an example. And then there is the other side of things, that there are people who basically, because of maybe lack of time, because of genuine lack of interest in the ultra realistic approach and everything, there are those that really just want to simulate driving a tractor, putting down some fertilizer, plowing, or maybe they don't even want to plow, so they don't even have that option turned on, and then just kind of go through things, rinse and repeat. And of course, probably the Seasons mod doesn't appeal to these individuals, because the Seasons mod does, unless you are playing in 3 game days per season, it's going to force you to spend some time doing a lot of things before you can do other things. So for example, you kind of have to go through the paces with life on the farm, and everything before you can just get to the good stuff, which maybe most folks would consider harvesting, because that's how they can make more money. So if you're playing like a career type gameplay, where you want to be able to prep your fields, seed your fields, fertilize your fields, and then the next game day or the game day after that be able to harvest it, and then the game day after that go ahead and start the process again, and sort of rinse and repeat in the old ways that we did things with Farm Sim 15, or in the early days of Farm Sim 17 before the Seasons mod came out, then you don't want to have this long drawn out process, really, regardless of whether it's 3 days, 6 days, 9 days, 15 days, 24 days, etc. And then I suppose maybe there's a third type of people or third type of individual that which kind of falls in between those two different types. And so with some of these mods that attempt to add a little more realism, so for example, this mod is a good example, the more realistic mod. You know, I'm guessing my main question is why do we, you know, if this is truly going to be a simulation-based game, why must there be a more realistic mod? Why aren't the why aren't the default equipment types like the New Holland tractor and some of the others that are in the game? We're just going to come up here on this end and take care of a couple of these spots here. Why aren't they already set up with the correct horsepower requirements? Because in all honesty, the more realistic mod obviously works best with these default type pieces of equipment, unless they have been designed to be more realistic compatible. And there's sort of a list or a directory of sorts that kind of help you understand what is more realistic compatible and what is not. But basically everything that is a default piece of equipment and or DLC that's been released from Giants is all more realistic compatible. But again, why isn't this all set up by Giants this way? Basically, if you're not playing with the more realistic mod, there really isn't much of a difference in the horsepower requirements of a tractor that's, you know, rated at just a few hundred horsepower versus the behemoths that are rated at 400 to 500 horsepower. And so it's $1 million question, I suppose. But in any event, the more realistic mod, you know, it's at least attempting to do something to help us out, have a little bit more realism, and maybe if nothing at all, it's indicating to Giants that, you know, that there are people that want this this functionality. So it would be easy. This would be another one of those examples where I think Giants could just build this into the game and apply a toggle switch within the settings screen that basically said that, you know, you want the more realistic physics of the equipment. So in other words, it would give you that, or you don't, you know. All right, so we are going to grab the big bud, because that's the type of tractor that we need to do this next job with. And we're going to head up and at least get started with some of the plowing. And of course, I realize that we are approaching our magic number of 30 minutes. We're getting there anyways. And I like to try to keep things at 30 minutes if at all possible, just for your sake and for my sake as well. So we'll pull up here and grab a hold of our trusty John Deere plow. I really like this plow because, for one, it does the job that it's intended to do, and it does it in fairly good speed, just simply because it is quite wide. Now, there could possibly be some discussion, some debates on whether or not this is actually realistic, or, you know, kind of a pipe dream, I suppose. I think this actually is a cultivator that's been modded to plow, but again, you know, sometimes you just kind of have to close your eyes just a little bit and you say, all right, I realize I'm using a piece of equipment that may not exist in the real world, but maybe it could be if we designed it as such. And of course, there are some massive plows out there. It's just that, you know, some of them are not as good as some of the others. I mean, that's sort of the gamble with mods, is that, you know, some mods are better than others, and you kind of find what works and what doesn't throw any errors in the game and what doesn't conflict with other things, and you kind of learn to live with those and love those and often cherish them. So this is as the train barrels through town. This is one of those mods that pretty much, unless I'm playing a super small size map, where I can use a smaller plow, this is going to be one of those. This is going to be one of those mods that's pretty much going to make an appearance on just about every map that I play, at least until something else comes along and betters it. So let's see, let me get straight here with the world, and I'll be right back with you. Alright, and we are rocking and a-rolling here on field number 7, plowing that fertilizer into the soil. Now we'll come along behind this, especially with the recent rain that we've had. The ground is not too terribly muddy, and in other words, we're not having a problem getting through this field, and we're not damaging the field because of the rain. And obviously that is something that you want to be careful about, because we certainly don't want to damage the field beyond the ability to get the other tractors in here to put the seeds in the ground. And then also we certainly don't want to damage the ground as we're actually seeding, because then that's going to just make it a little more difficult when it comes time to manage the field down the road with either fertilization, spraying, or putting down other types of like weed control and stuff like that, and of course harvesting. So we don't want to cause damage to the soil, but I think we're okay. So what we will do after we plow, and of course most likely I will do this off camera, is we will come in and we will cultivate this this field and sort of knock this down and make this a little bit more suitable surface for putting the seeds into, and then we'll be seeding and moving on down the line. And you know, 4th game day of spring, so we are, well, we're playing 9 game days per season, so we're almost at the halfway point once we get about halfway through this game day to being about halfway through spring. And our crops, I guess, hopefully our crops are doing well. You know, we put wheat in the ground on the first game day, and it is yet to sort of make its debut. It's not poked their little heads out of the ground just yet, but that's okay. Fingers crossed that we're still going to be able to do our plan, our master plan of hopefully being able to harvest the wheat and maybe the barley on the midpoint of summer. So essentially, you know, about this time, or maybe a little bit later than this time frame in the summer season, and turn those fields around, which means basically harvest them, get the straw, bale the straw, get the bales off the field, get the field basically prepped with, figure out whatever we need to do from a fertilization standpoint, whatever's going to be best for those soil conditions, and then obviously cultivate, and then reseed those fields with soybeans in the hopes that we will be able to harvest those soybeans in the fall time frame. So if that works out the way that we hope it will, that will mean a pretty bountiful harvest if everything else goes as planned. In other words, if the weather cooperates with us, we don't have any freak hailstorms, we don't have an infestation of bugs or anything like that that could essentially wreak havoc, we will have a really darn good harvest, and of course be able to get benefit out of at least one field, maybe 2 fields, or maybe even 3 fields beyond what we might normally be able to get from them, just because of the fact that we're in a little bit better situation as far as climate and everything goes. I mean, again, it's 81 degrees with a soil temperature of 73 degrees. And boy, it was a scorcher yesterday, let me tell you. It was 101 was forecasted, and it was hot. It was hot for a spring day. And but then the rains came in like you saw this morning and cooled everything down. and I think that's why we have an 81-degree day. But tomorrow's going to be up there around 90, mid-90s or so, and with the rain, that's just going to make things quite humid. But if you look at our weather forecast, there in the last game day of fall, or I'm sorry, the last game day of spring, followed by the first 2 game days of summer, we have rain, 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 rain. So don't know what is beyond that look. We'll have to wait and see. But of course, that's going to be good for our crops, so I'm not going to be complaining. We will have all of our crops in the ground well before the end of spring. So we're making decent progress on getting all that accomplished, and that's obviously our #1 priority right now, is to get the seeds, get the fields prepped, get the seeds in the ground, and we're not going to worry about what the weather's going to be doing in the early part of summer, because we won't really be able to do anything with our fields in that particular point in time. But clearly, as I said before, we are hoping that the warm temperatures and the moisture and maybe God's grace will give us the opportunity to get the wheat and at least the barley off the fields and get those fields turned around in time to put soybeans back down. At least that is our plan. That's what we're going for. That's kind of what excited me about this map. I think well, if I think about the list of things that I am impressed about this map with, I think #1 is obviously Westbridge. It's a remake of Westbridge Hills, and so I quite enjoyed that map. That was a map that I spent lots of hours on in Farm Sim 15, and was sort of the last, that was the map that I played before I sort of got into mods, and I even went from default Westbridge Hills into Stevie's version of Westbridge Hills. Played that for a heck of a lot of time. This map existed for Farm Sim 15, but I never knew about it. I never knew about MidTown Farm for Farm Sim 15, but I am pleased to know about it now. I'm pleased to have sort of virtually met the acquaintance of ccs101 through Eustace Pharmer, and I am very pleased to be able to play this map and bring this map to you before its release date. And as I record this episode, this is the weekend of the 16th of December, and you guys are watching this video. Let me drop the plow there. You guys are watching this video, let's see, MidTown #6. You guys are watching this video on the 28th of December. So we're still in 2017 at the particular point in time that you're watching this, and as of the weekend of the 16th of December, this map has not been released yet. But hopefully at some point between now and actually the time that you're watching this video, or certainly maybe before the end of the year, or perhaps not long after the first of the year, this map will be available. And as I've said before, this map, when it's available, will be available on FSUK. So I will put a link in my mod list once the map becomes available. I will put a link to that in my mod spreadsheet. So my mod spreadsheet, for you folks that might be new to my channel, it is something I take great pride in. A lot of folks will not do this. A lot of folks may not have time to do this. A lot of folks will try to do something like this, but they don't strive to keep it updated and everything. And even though I don't have a whole lot of mods that I'm using on this particular map, certainly as compared to, say, Thornton Farms, where I have quite a few mods. Snetterton Farm, I have even more mods on that map than I probably have on any of the others. Everything that I use for Farm Sim 17 is listed on my mod spreadsheet. Now you can get to my mod spreadsheet by going to grizzlybearsims.com, and you'll find a link to that website down below the video, grizzlybearsims.com. In the right hand side of the website that's going to open when you go to my website, you'll see a link called add-ons and mod directory. If you click on that, that will open up a Google document spreadsheet, and at the bottom of that spreadsheet you will see some tabs that will be labeled with some of the simulation based games that I play and that I enjoy, and the mods that are associated with those. So if you click on the Farm Sim 17 tab, just look at the bottom, you'll see FS17 at the bottom of the tabs there. Click on that, and that will show you all the mods that I have. Now, I have tried very hard to keep it somewhat organized. I probably need to maybe regroup that just a little bit. I've always wanted to put the mods or list the mods in the same functional categories as they are identified as in the game itself. So in other words, when you pull up the store menu and you see tractors, you see plows, you see cultivators, you see those kind of things, that's how I want them to be grouped, and for the most part they are. Of course, there is a huge miscellaneous section, I think, which kind of encompasses things like the GPS mod, Courseplay, Seasons, etc., etc. And so that's kind of where those mods are listed. But everything that I use has a link to its location where it can be downloaded. The other thing about my mod spreadsheet is if I am aware that a mod has been uploaded to a site where I downloaded it from that is not where the original mod author or the original mod developer intended it to be, I have either changed that, or if something got converted to FarmSim 17 from 15 without the mod author's permission, I have removed that from my spreadsheet and I have removed that from the game. I believe that I've talked about this ad nauseum before, but I believe that we need to show the utmost respect for those in the modding community that are building all of these nice toys for us to use, because let's face it, if this was just default Goldcrest Valley, if that was all available, if that was the only thing that was available to us, if all that was available to us was default and DLC type of equipment, this game would get old fairly quick. Not saying that it wouldn't be enjoyable to play, but it certainly wouldn't be enjoyable to play for 300, for 500, for 700, for 1,000 hours or more. And so with all that said, I have tried to do the best that I can to make sure that the mods that are listed on my spreadsheet and the mods that I use to play in the games are all publicly available for you. The only exception to this is at times like this where I get an opportunity, and this doesn't happen very often, but I get an opportunity to showcase a map which has not yet been available, but has plans to be available. Then obviously I will consider bringing that onto the channel if I can fit it into my schedule, and so that's kind of why we're playing MidtownUSA here at this particular point in time. Another word or another thought about my mods and my mod spreadsheet. Again, if you see something that I'm playing here, I want everyone to be available to also enjoy that as well. Obviously, it's got to be, it's got to be PC compatible, because that's what I'm playing is PC version of Farm Sim 17, and I can't guarantee, and I don't even know, or I don't track, and I don't necessarily say what is or what is not console compatible. I don't have a console, and so that's not going to be something that I'm going to do, but I would just say to check your resources however you manage your mods for that particular platform to see if they're available. Well, folks, we're coming up on maybe a little bit beyond our 30-minute number there. It's kind of hard for me to know because I had quite a few minutes that I'm going to be editing out, and so I only kind of look at the time in which the video recorder has been running, and it's telling me that I'm about 40 minutes in, and I'm pretty sure I've got about 5 to 6 minutes of edits to take out. So it'll come in somewhere around 35 minutes or so long, I think. Maybe a little longer, maybe a little shorter. We're not gonna sweat the small stuff there. I want to thank you all so much for watching this episode. Now you guys will have another episode of Thornton Farm tomorrow, the 29th of December. And then most likely you're not going to have a video from me until Monday, the 1st of January 2018. I do subscribe to the theory of what you do on the first game day, or what you do on the first day of the new year, is something that you most likely will do throughout that year and that you will enjoy in that year, and it will bring you great peace and great prosperity and great fun and all that kind of stuff. So obviously, when I was a younger person, wasn't always off on the 1st of January. I had jobs where I might have to work on that particular day because, after all, the world does not stop turning just because it is a holiday like that. But since I have been in my more professional life, obviously I don't work on January the 1st. I do eat my black-eyed peas because that's for good luck and prosperity and good financial success. And of course, I try to do fun things on the 1st of January because, again, the old saying goes that what you do on the 1st of January, what you do on the first day of the new year, is what you'll have time and find enjoyment in doing throughout the rest of the year. So I will have a video that will be available for the 1st of January. I will also probably try to play a little bit of Farm Sim 17 on the very early morning of the 1st of January. It kind of depends on how much adult beverage I have the night before, but I tell you, I don't think I've been awake for the new year in Colorado time, at least in a number of years. My wife and I, we usually stay awake and watch the ball drop in Times Square, so usually that would obviously be 10 o'clock my local time, and there have been a few years where I have managed to stay awake to be able to say Happy New Year to my family and friends in Texas, and of course that would be 11 o'clock my time. But most years I am asleep before midnight in Colorado time, just because, well, it's kind of hard to keep my eyes open for that long. And so anyway, thank you all so much for watching, folks. I do appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate you engaging me with conversation through the comments section. So please like, comment, and subscribe to my videos. That helps out tremendously. Also, remember to head over to my Discord channel for more interaction with me. You'll find the links down below in the show notes. And also, don't forget about my mod spreadsheet if you're interested in some of the mods that I may be using on this map or some of the other series that I have going on at this particular point in time. Thank you all so very much. Get ready for the new year. Be safe and be happy. Take good care of yourselves and take good care of others that are around you. We are all we have. God bless you all. Bye-bye.